Hey there, Sin Macer again. Okay, so we're gonna start a brand new project, which is probably gonna be easier for you to see what's going on and how I did what I did. But this is gonna be in a two-part because since you specified that this was for Android, I'm gonna go ahead and create part one, which is gonna be setting up the controls for Android. I don't know if, I mean, you haven't mentioned it, so I figure you've already got it covered, but maybe this will be insightful for you nonetheless. Alright, so we're going to start this with part 1. If you just want to go straight to part 2, which is going to be how to restrain the rotation of the camera or the spaceship, then just click on the link. Alright, so here we go. Getting inside of the project very soon. You can do this. You can do this, launcher. Here we go. Okay, so first things first, we have to set up some things, because right now, first of all, well, I want to be able to see my cursor, my mouse cursor, which is going to simulate the finger. I also want to see full screen, so we're going to do this right away. Full screen, new editor. There we go. Okay. Now, project settings, input, use mouse for touch, yes. Always show interface, no. We want to clear the default joystick because we're not going to be using a joystick. And all the beautiful axis mapping, which are only for the WASD and joystick, which we cannot use. That is gone. Now, to see my mouse cursor, we're going to create a new flying controller, new player controller. You can set it in two places since we already have a game mode, which is called flying game mode. You can go in the world settings, game mode, and put it here, or you can just simply go in the game mode and specify it inside of the game mode blueprint. Now, with that set up, we're going to go show mouse cursor. This is what we want. Enable touch events, yes. Enable touch over events, we'll say yes. We don't want any mouse. Okay. And now we can see our cursor, yay. Another thing, inside of our pawn, flying pawn, we're going to start. Okay, well actually the first thing is we have to fix those inputs that we deleted. Okay, so we're going to create some custom inputs. Call this thrust. Now this thrust, the thrust I'm actually not using, but I'm still going to add it just so maybe it could be a special boost feature. I don't know. Add a new input, float, and just call it the same axis value. It's gonna serve the same purpose as these guys. Now we have one called pitch and yaw. Okay, we're gonna plug them in the exact same way that the original axes were plugged. I'm gonna try to go quickly. Oh, how come I got two? My bad. Axis value. Yeah, I'm gonna try to go quickly over this, but not too quickly so that, you know, you don't get confused or anything. Okay. Now over here, I don't use the roll. Bye-bye roll. I mean, if you want to use it, sure. Now, with that deleted, I also have to make sure that the roll is updated. So, we're just going to do that right away. Get actor rotation. And set actor rotation. Okay, break. Now we want to keep the pitch and the yaw. it is the roll that we want to set to 0. Which means that it will never have any other value than 0. Okay, I put it here because this is happening in a tick. It's always happening. Okay, now we want to set the camera properly. You were mentioning that you want kind of a camera view thing, right? So I'm going to do the same thing. The only difference is I want to see the dash of my spaceship. So we're going to go kind of by a trial and error thing. And hopefully it's not going to take forever. Oh, come on. Come on. Oh, we did a little bit of it. A little bit. That would be too much. Ah. Come on. Come on, come on. I'm just going to edit out all these failed attempts of finding the proper Okay. Zero, 192. Okay, so we're gonna set the camera so that I can see the dash. This is basically trial and error, so I'm just gonna go ahead and try it a few times and edit out the failed attempts. Okay. And this is going to be good enough for me. So I can see my dash, and the player can see, hey, I'm in a spaceship or whatever, and it's a pretty ugly dash at the moment, but it's going to serve our purposes. Alright. So moving on. Actually, we're about ready to set up the controls. Yep. Okay, so first things first, we're going to have an event. You know what, actually I'm just going to explain to you what's going to happen so that when I create variables you're not going to confuse. So there's going to be an invisible threshold in the screen, so it's going to be the save zone. So if the player clicks or holds his finger in the save zone, nothing's going to happen. If he moves upwards from the save zone, he's going to go upwards. If he goes down, he's going to go down, left, right. In the corner here, it's going to be a diagonal. Okay. So the way that we're going to do this, we're going to divide a viewport because we want this to also work for all kinds of different sizes of viewports because not everybody's got the same devices, right? So event begin play, we're going to set up these numbers, get viewport size, we're going to break this. Now we want our variables float, we want our x, yeah, we're just going to leave it at x for that. You can call it something else, maybe like middle x or viewport x, I don't know. But this works for me. Ooh, coughing fit. So we need that, which is going to give us, these are going to be set for the center. And we also need the threshold, which is roughly going to be 1/3. So we need two more variables. And we're going to call them y outer. So we want to be outside of this number in order to move. Y is going to be up and down. Actually, we're going to keep it the way it is. Duplicate. Outer Y. Okay. Alright, so to do this, we're going to divide by 2 and by 3. Okay, come on. Sometimes it's just a little bit hard to click at the right place. Okay, this is good. I'm gonna put them like this. Now, to set them all up, so basically, like I mentioned, it's gonna give us the middle of the screen, which is divided by 2, and then it's going to give us the third of the screen, which is going to be our outer bounds that we need the player to cross in order to be able to click on. Right, so this is the middle, so this is going to give us basically a dot in the middle of the screen. Okay, these two combined is just a dot in the middle of the screen, and this is going to create a bounding box, a threshold box rather, that we want to be able to go outside of. Okay, so that's the first thing that we needed to set up, which is now done. Groovy. Make sure everything is fine. Should be okay. Then we need our touch event. Touch event. Okay, we're gonna start by dividing it in 2. We have the top, which is gonna be our pitch, and the bottom, which is going to be our yaw. Actually, we need to compare first. Compare, so that if it's on the right of the screen or on the left. Okay, we're going to do it all actually. Let's see. So input, that's going to be our touch position, which we don't have yet, but we're going to compare it. Okay, so remember this is the middle of our X and the middle of our Y. So actually this is our pitch top, which is the Y. Sorry. Let's not get confused. It's easy to plug things in the wrong place and then get some weird results. So Y is the pitch, up and down, and X is the left and right. Okay. So if it's on the left of the screen, or on the right, we're gonna have another compare, and another one. If it's on the left of the screen, same for here, except this is gonna be up, down. Okay, now we're going to use our outer to compare. Whoops, actually this is wrong. Okay, this is going to be, the way it calculates, it starts, this is 0, 0, and in my case, this would be 1920 by 1080. Okay, so that's how it calculates. So that means if I divide my viewport, which is 1980 by 2, it's going to give me the point in the middle. I'm bad at math, so I can't give you the exact number. I think it's something like 560 or something like that. Anyways, and if I divide it by 3, it's going to give me the point over here. So that means that if I'm looking at the right of the screen on the X, I need the point over here, not over here. So this means that I need to divide or multiply by 2. Okay. Whoa. Compare. So here I have the invisible line here, which is roughly over here at 1/3, and I'm multiplied by 2. It's going to give me the line over here on my screen. And we're going to do the same thing for the Y. Get times 2. Okay. Times 2. So we need the bigger. Didn't I have 2 of them? I only have one. Okay, well, my bad. Actually, I need 3 of them. One in the middle. So bigger, smaller. So, okay, basically, it's going to look, am I on the right or the left of the screen? If I'm on the right, I'm going to check, am I further than this line or not? So if I'm further than this line, this invisible line here, then move. Okay, otherwise don't. And actually, the one in between is if I'm not. So if I'm bigger than, if I'm on the right of this dot, but I'm smaller than this invisible line, it means I'm on my in my safe zone. Okay, so if I'm in my safe zone, I need to set my value back to 0. And actually, we're going to set our values right now. So if I'm up, it's going to be a value of 1. If I'm down, it's a value of -1. If I'm in my safe zone, it's 0. Okay, if I'm right, it's 1. Safe zone 0. Left, -1. Alright. Now, we need to find our touch state. Which we can get here, but we need the touch state to be updated every frame, so that way if the player presses left and then drags his finger right, the game needs to know that he dragged his finger right. If you only did it on press, you would press, and then if he dragged his finger, it would just still see the left input state because it did not update. So we need, in the tick space, or in the tick sequence, update the touch state. Player controller and get touch state. Our input touch state. Okay. We're going to need 2 variables for this, which are going to be floats, so we can just duplicate. And we're going to call them update X touch. Duplicate. And this is going to be update Y touch. Set them. Like this. And there's not a lot of room here, so what we're going to do, we're going to copy, make a macro. Okay. We need an exec and an exec. Enter, exit. This is going to give us a nice clean project. Oh, we didn't name it. Update touch, update touch. Boom. Okay. Get rid of this and put our lovely macros right in between where it fits nice and snug without messing up our visual. And we also need to add it here. Okay, otherwise you get a thing where, let's say I click here, and then, which is the going upwards, and then I click downwards. If I don't set it touch, it's gonna get the last input touch, which was up. So yeah, it's gonna get updated really quickly, but the first input is gonna be the last input touch, which is not what we want. So this is why as soon as we press, we update our touch, and then the tick event is gonna take it from there. Okay, so just put the touch here. And so far so good. Oh right, yeah. We need to have our inputs here. So update Y oh Y. Update here. Oops, I like to keep everything kind of orderly. Oops. Update. That's it for the Y. And then the X. Update X. Okay. Good. I like to compile and save often in case a nasty crash happens, which it does happen sometimes. Sometimes we do things and like, oh no. Now, the problem with this setup right now is that it only happens once, right? It happens when you press it. But we need this to constantly fire, okay? This needs to happen pretty often. And another thing I'm going to change right away is the interpretation speed. This is just a personal taste. I like this to update faster. Okay. Alright, well I'm just gonna, because where was it here? This is the speed between these two values, okay, the current and the target, and how fast the interpolation is gonna happen between. So it's gonna find this value, then it's gonna build up towards this next value, and this is the speed. So basically, if it's slow, which is the speed, it's gonna current pitch speed, so it's gonna take longer for it to turn, which you can also use the turn speed, but I like the interpolation to happen quicker, so that you go back to 0 faster. When you let go of the controls, it's going to go faster to 0. And so it's going to kind of stop turning faster, basically. So the turn speed is how fast you're going to turn when you press the turn speed, and the interpolation is basically how fast you're going to turn, but also how fast you're going to get back to the 0 value of not turning. Okay, so this is just a personal preference. Anyways, back to our having to loop this for it to tick often. So what we're going to do, we're going to add a loop basically right over here. Sequence. And delay. Actually, we're going to have to do something. So I put it to 0.8, which is roughly the delta time. You can tweak that if you feel that you want the game to update quicker, this whole stuff. But it should be a good number. We're gonna need a branch, okay? Because if I put the loop as is, it's just gonna, when I click, it's gonna go and forever loop. But we have to be able to break the loop, right? So we're going to have a branch for that. And a brand new variable of Boolean type to check if the finger is pressed or not. So when we press, then it is true, okay? And check. So if this is true, then go ahead. So now we need to set it to have a condition to set it to false, which is going to happen when you release. And another thing that we want to happen when we release is to like over here, we need to set these things back to 0. And this is going to happen basically the same way. So when you release, there's a loop that's going to happen and constantly set it to 0. So we need a branch with our pressed variable, and we want this to happen on false. And we need to loop it. Loop, loop, loop. So sequence and delay 0.08. Alright. So far so good. Let's see if I'm forgetting everything, but I think that this is basically it for the controls. I think it's set to 0, so the best way to figure out if it's working or not is to go ahead and test it out. So with this, basically any size of the viewport. Okay, I'm pressing in middle, nothing's happening. Oh, something's not right. So the problem was over here. So as you can see, I have the X plugged into my Y. Oopsies. Okay. Alright, so as you can see, everything works fine. I have some nasty shadows on my dash, I just noticed. I could take that out. Flying, my plane mesh, erg, shadow, cast, shadows. No more shadows. Okay, so as you can see, the controls are working pretty well. Everything is cool. Okay, so now we're going to go to part 2 of restraining the look axis. So see you there.